live on Facebook. Here we are. Matthew Millions and Lev Carrison. It's actually Matthew Klopwick, isn't
It is.
it? So today, last week we did this Facebook Live, and last week we actually had the privilege to have a youth on and to work on a principle from our program with the youth. So what we're doing here is we're taking our program from the physical classroom to the online world. The reason we're doing this is because of the current situation with COVID and schools being closed. We want students to feel empowered and to have life skills that transform the way they live their lives and the way that they contribute to the community. And that's what we're here to do. Today, we're going to talk about the principle number 3. The moment you stop blaming, you take back your power. Now, Matthew, let me ask you this. When do you make excuses, and what are those excuses?
When I make excuses, I make excuses anytime I want to feel better about myself for making a mistake. So rather than looking at it in the eye, I would just say, oh, it wasn't my fault. And rather than growing from that experience, I'm actually going to, I don't want to take too much from the principle that you're going to cover, but basically I use excuses to make myself feel better, to stay in my comfort zone.
Totally. And what would some of those excuses sound like?
It's not my fault. What else? Trying to think about it. So it's not my fault.
Think of a specific scenario. Think of a specific situation where, it was something that you needed to do, not that you wanted to do, because most of the times things that we want to do, we do them. But okay. Things that we need to do.
So I remember one time I was supposed to go to a meeting, and kind of in between the process, someone asked me to run an errand for them. And I'm like, okay, so I ended up running the errand for them. I went all the way to Superstore, and I ended up locking my keys in the car. So 1, I'm kind of mad because I'm missing the meeting, and 2, I'm already blaming the other person because I was like, well, this wouldn't have happened if I didn't make this trip. And so I was just blaming the other person for doing that. When really it was my fault. I locked the keys in the car. It was totally my fault. And rather than take responsibility, I was blaming the other person.
Yeah. And, in that moment, what happens when you blame somebody else? How did you feel in that moment? Do you remember?
Well, I felt a little bit righteous. So like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to help this person next time. Or, you know what? I should have looked out for me. I should have just done my stuff first and then help someone after. So yeah. It kind of felt righteous being selfish.
Yeah, and it always will. It always will in the moment. But it stops you from growing. And it stops you from building a stronger connection with that person who you blamed. And, it's just like I said, it stops you from growing, from becoming the person that you want to become. Right. And I think that's really important. And this is, one example, but there are millions of examples. For example, you sleep in, you make the excuse of I'm tired. When you might well be tired, but it's an excuse, right? So you're late to a meeting and, you locked your keys in the car or something else happened. It's an excuse. But as soon as you own it, then you have a choice. And there's a clear choice that will empower you in that moment. You may not look good. And that's another thing that I want to bring up, is that most of the times we make excuses is so that we can feel better about ourselves and that we can look good in front of others. Now, when we stop making these excuses in the moment, we may not look good in front of others. But what it does is it builds this relationship equity with other people. It has them know that you own your crap, and that they can rely on you and trust you in further scenarios.
Right.
So that's only one slight point of this principle. When you stop blaming, you take back your power. The other thing that I wanted to cover is, well, there's actually a few things in this principle that we jam-packed into this 90-minute session for our youth in this online program. And one of those fun activities is the someday activity. When we realize that there's a lot of things, a lot of attainable goals that we set for ourselves, but we make excuses for those goals. And what happens with those goals? We make excuses when we have more money, or when we grow older, or when we do something or go somewhere. It's always excuse after excuse after excuse that piles on. And it limits us to who we are becoming. So, when you're setting a goal, or when you're putting a plan together, but you put someday as your timeline, you never get to that destination, because that someday is your excuse to get out of it. And we do this all the time.
Yeah.
Can you think of a specific example?
Totally. As you were just saying that, I was thinking about, I don't use the word someday, but I use the say, one day I'll do this, or, one day I'll finish writing my book, or one day I will, prepare that youth talk I'm doing, or one day, instead of just thinking about day one, like today, just start doing it, right? And this kind of goes to other principles with, procrastination. And it's because when we think of a task that is bigger than ourselves, we magnify it even more, so we don't get started. And so, let's say, for example, one of my goals is to finish writing this speech for this kind of TED talk. You know what? It's basically have to put away time studying 15 minutes, instead of saying, okay, well, I'm just gonna book maybe 1 hour every day and start working on it. Or it's like, okay, 1 hour is too much. Okay, well, how about 30 minutes? How about 5 minutes? Like, and start building up the frequency in order to build that muscle.
Totally. Yeah. So for you, it's one day. For other people, someday. Whatever you use, again, it limits you to becoming the person that you want to become. And this is a reoccurring theme in this principle. And another thing that we do that's really fun and cool is we take a dollar bill and we crumple it up, and then we present it back to the students, and we ask them, what do you think of this dollar bill? Is it still worth the value that it says on it? And of course, it's a no-brainer. Anybody would still have it. But we get into how we devalue who we are as individuals. And when people tell us or label us in a certain way, we devalue ourselves and we take on those labels. So there's so much cool stuff in this principle. I want to just cover one more point, and that point has to do with circumstances. Do you feel you create your circumstances, or do your circumstances create you? Really powerful concept. What's powerful about it is, imagine two people that get into a car accident. And Matthew, you can attest to this, because I know that a car accident that you've had back a few years ago really changed the course of your life. And two people come out of a car accident. One person can look at this car accident and say, I just got in a car accident. I'm injured. I'm hurt. I lost a lot of money. I'm going to have to pay insurance. And the list piles on. That person's going to have a pretty bad day. Let alone the way that he or she is looking at the circumstance is really the way that they're looking at the world as well, and how they're defining all of their circumstances. It's easy for us to say, when something great happens, that we did it. We were the result of that. But when something that doesn't go the way we want it to go, there's always an excuse piling up. right? So again, a reoccurring theme in this principle, all these excuses. So with the circumstances, imagine that in that same car accident, the other person walks away saying, I'm blessed and lucky to be alive today. Just that simple act right there, that changes the course of how that person lives their life. And Matthew, actually, do you want to tell us a little bit about that car accident and what that did?
Yeah. So in terms of to the excuse or just the event?
The so when it happened for you, like your car accident, what happened? And this is a little bit outside of this context, but I think that it is really powerful
Yeah.
for the viewers to hear.
Sounds good. So roughly about 3 years ago, even before then, I always had this kind of goal, kind of life mission of having a youth program that I wish I had when I was growing up. And so, if you guys attended the last episode, I kind of mentioned about I was shy, introverted, had stuttering impediment, and I kind of struggled because I didn't really have the life skills, no confidence, no leadership, no nothing, to kind of like get ahead. And only when I kind of fell into personal development and entrepreneurship, I started realizing, oh my gosh, the world is really a video game. And I always wanted to teach these skills back, to the youth so could have a better future. But one of the excuses I always said, well, I'm not successful enough. I don't have the right influences. I don't have any time. I'll do it later, right? And so I kept saying that over and over again, this principle, I'll do it later, and I would set a goal. And if I hit that, I said, then I'll do it. And then I said, oh, this wasn't big enough. Or I would miss a goal, says, oh, I'm not good enough. And it was roughly about 3 years ago when I woke up and I got dressed and just going to an appointment, kind of like just being in the autopilot of life. And I started driving, and suddenly the car just started to lose control. I wasn't speeding. I know I'm like half Asian, but I wasn't speeding. I was just going down this hill. And for some reason, as I was going down, the car started swerving right in oncoming traffic. And I'm not sure if you guys ever been in a near-death experience with some sort of adrenaline rush, whether you were like crossing the street and like everything slows down. I thought my life was going to be over. However, it actually created a brand new possibility for my life because it gave me two great gifts. One, what the people say, when your life flashes before your eyes, you have regrets, right? And I was given this gift, which I now see it as a gift, but in the moment, it was a regret. The first regret was not being bold enough. I saw all these flashes of my life where I had an opportunity and I shied away because I said I would just I bought my excuse instead of buying the growth. I saw more pain in making the change rather than there's more pain in staying the same. And so what I did was I saw all the things I wasn't being bold enough. The second thing was, one of the biggest regrets was, man, I didn't even start doing the youth program. I kept telling people one day I'm going to do this. I started having a vision of how great it would be. I would see all the different things that the youth were going through, and how together we can cultivate and make a difference for them. And so being able to walk away from that car accident, I said, you know what? I'm just going to start telling people my dreams, right? And regardless of what happens, I don't even know how it's going to happen. And so I started just telling people, hey, you know what? Right now I'm doing this, but one of my goals is to have a youth program. And I think within a month, I actually met you, Lev, because I was doing a seminar. He chatted me after, and we went out for coffee at the Lougheed Mall. I still remember it. We were right outside Starbucks, just kind of figuring each other out. And I said, hey, man, this is what my dream is. And then Lev said, hey, that's my dream too. But we didn't know how to do it. If you told us in that moment, in 3 years, you're going to be picked up from a registered charity, you're going to be you're going to have all these alliances of people who are about 10 to 15 volunteers that's going to help you deliver this program. Also, students that will go through the program that will gain the skills and confidence that they want to teach it. Just in the moment, we couldn't see it. However, because of that moment, all the kind of ripple effects led to many different things, and that's why we're really excited about this program. And even right now, even though the schools are kind of closed down, this is the new ripple effect. Before we were like, okay, well, we had to go through the schools, but now the parents, if you parents are watching or if you know parents, please share this message with them because they're now the gatekeepers. They now have to homeschool their kids. They now need to know how to be able to work and be productive in the world, but also at their home. And that's why we have this program. This program is to empower the youth to empower other youth and to give them the life skills so they can thrive through this environment and transform their lives and also their friends' lives. So yeah, that's a little bit about why we're passionate about what we're doing.
Thanks for sharing, Matthew. That was brilliant. And yeah, the last part of this principle, and the last part of every single principle, and this is the uniqueness to this program. The student gets to share back with the classroom what they learn, and not only what they learn, but how they would teach it to somebody else who hasn't been taking this program. That's the uniqueness. That's the leadership. That's the empowerment right there, because now they're internalizing it from a standpoint of a teacher rather than a student, or a facilitator rather than a student. We don't like to call ourselves teachers because we're not teachers. We're just here to guide their journey into discovering the greatness that they have within. That's what we're here to do. And that was great. So we covered the principle, most of it. There's still a few little things that we didn't go through, but given that we usually do this in a 90-minute segment, and we do it with a group of students, and really we get that collaborative environment where you get to hear different walks of life and different stories. It's just so incredible. And we really want to encourage parents who have youth to sign their youth up. This program is delivered to 13 to 18-year-olds. If your child is about to turn 13, we can accept that as well. We don't have too many restrictions or limitations, and we're working on a program to deliver to students between ages 8 to 12. So that is going to be coming out soon, and we have already started our onboarding process for that, and we really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you all for watching this live. Thank you, Matthew, for being such an amazing partner. I couldn't have asked for a relationship that came from that single meeting at your Millionaire Mentors, and then into that Starbucks meeting. After that, it just cascaded a ripple effect, like you said. So we're so excited to bring this program to all of the students and really to empower the world, make a change.
Yes, thanks a lot. Appreciate that. And just last minute comments, guys. So again, May 26th is where we're launching the youth event. Parents need to register their kid. Again, it is a free program. What we want them to do is, the commitment is they have to sign up for 9 weeks. It's 9 Tuesdays from I think 10 to 11:30. I'm going to post the link below that you can look in, or if you look at my personal kind of Facebook page, you can kind of see it. But we also have a website. I'm going to post all the links underneath, but lowentropy.ca. If you go to services under Youth Empowering Youth, you can find about the program. You also can download some different tools, and that way when you go on May 26th, you'll be very well prepared. And also, your kids can go through the program with their friends, right? And one of the biggest influences that we have in our life is our friends, the people that we have. And it would really be great if we can all grow together. So we have 40 spots. We are filling them up, and we'd love for you guys to participate, and have yourself a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you all for tuning in. Have an amazing weekend. Enjoy the sunshine, and we'll be back here next Saturday.
Take care, guys.